The stars were burning. Admiral Kethvar pressed his scaled hands against the cold metal of the observation window and watched another planet die. The green world below had once been home to millions of peaceful beings. Now it was nothing but smoke and fire. The Zephyrian ships looked like giant sea creatures floating through space. Their hulls pulsed with purple light, and their weapons glowed like angry eyes. They had been destroying worlds for 2 months now. 17 star systems had fallen to their endless hunger for conquest. "Sir, we have lost contact with the defense fleet at Kepler 229, reported Lieutenant Zix from his station. The young officer's voice shook as he spoke. That makes 3 fleets destroyed this week. Kethvar turned away from the window. His command, ship the Harmony, was one of the largest vessels in the Galactic Council's navy. It carried 2,000 crew members from dozens of different alien species. They had all joined together to keep peace in the galaxy. But peace was dying with each passing day. "How many ships do the Zephyrians have now?" Kethvar asked. "Our scouts report over 400 war vessels, sir. They seem to be building more, every day." The admiral walked to his command chair and sat down heavily. He had fought in wars before, but nothing like this. The Zephyrians were different from other enemies. They did not want territory or resources. They wanted to destroy everything. That was not like them. "Sir, incoming message from the Council headquarters," called out the communications officer. The large screen at the front of the bridge flickered to life. The image showed Council leader Moratik, an elderly being with 4 arms and wise eyes. She looked tired and worried. "Admiral Kethvar, I have bad news. The Zephyrians have broken through our defenses at 3 more systems. They are now only 5 jumps away from the core worlds." Kethvar felt his heart sink. The core worlds were where billions of peaceful beings lived. If they fell, the entire galactic civilization would collapse. "What are your orders, Council?" "Leader?" Moratik was quiet for a moment. "We have one last option, Admiral, the humans." Several officers on the bridge looked at each other with confusion. The humans were new to the Galactic Council. They had only joined 6 months ago. Their planet, Earth, was small and far away from the main trade routes. "Council leader, with respect, the humans have primitive technology. Their ships are slow, and their weapons are basic. How can they help us when our advanced fleets have failed?" "I know it seems impossible, Admiral, but they have offered to help. Their leaders say they have military experience we do not understand. At this point, we have no other choice." Lieutenant Zix leaned forward at his station. "Sir, the Zephyrians are moving toward the Centauri colonies. If they take those systems, they will control the main shipping lanes." Kethvar made his decision. "Send the emergency beacon to Earth, tell them we need immediate help." Far across the galaxy, on a small blue planet called Earth, Fleet Admiral Jake Morrison was drinking coffee in his office when the alien message arrived. The office was simple and clean, with pictures of Earth's oceans on the walls. Morrison was 55 years old with gray hair and sharp eyes that had seen many battles. Commander Lisa Wade knocked on his door and entered. She was younger than Morrison, with brown hair tied back and a serious expression. She carried a data pad with the alien message. "Sir, we just received this from the Galactic Council. It's marked as an emergency." Morrison took the pad and read the message. His face grew serious as he learned about the Zephyrian invasion. The aliens were asking for Earth's help, but they clearly did not expect much from the human military. "How many ships do we have ready for deep space operations?" Morrison asked. 21 vessels, sir. The UES Thunderbolt is our newest and strongest. Captain Ryan Hayes commands her battle group." Morrison stood up and walked to the window. He could see the orbital shipyards where human warships were being built. The ships looked different from alien vessels. They were angular and gray with no fancy decorations or glowing lights. They looked like tools built for one purpose only. "Lisa, how long have we been preparing for something like this?" "Since first contact, sir. 3 years of planning and building. The alien species think our technology is primitive because they do not understand it." Morrison smiled grimly. "They measure advancement by how much energy a weapon can produce or how fast a ship can go. They do not understand that the best weapon is the one your enemy never sees coming." Wade nodded. "Should I order Captain Hayes to begin operations?" "Yes. Tell him to take his battle group to the conflict zone. And Lisa, make sure he knows this is what we have been training for. Time to show the galaxy what human warfare really looks like. Meanwhile, in the outer edges of the Kepler system, Captain Ryan Hayes received his orders aboard the UES Thunderbolt. The ship was massive, over 2 kilometers long, with weapons and systems that looked simple but were actually the result of centuries of human military development. Hayes was 42 years old, with dark hair and calm eyes. He had fought in Earth's last major war and understood how to use violence effectively. His crew of 800 humans had trained together for months. Lieutenant Chen, how long until we reach the battle zone? Hayes asked his tactical officer, Amy. Chen was 28 years old and one of the best military minds Earth had produced. She studied her instruments carefully before answering. 18 hours at maximum speed, Captain. The alien fleets are currently engaged near the 4th planet of the Kepler 442 system. Good. That gives us time to review the battle plans. Tony, what do we know about these Zephyrian ships? Lieutenant Tony Martinez, the weapons officer, pulled up the intelligence reports. They use biomechanical technology, sir. Their ships are grown rather than built. Heavy energy weapons, strong shields, but they fight in predictable patterns. Hayes nodded. They have been winning because they outnumber their enemies and have superior firepower. But they have never fought humans before. The bridge crew exchanged knowing looks. They had all studied the reports from the Galactic Council's battles. The alien military forces fought in the same way they had for thousands of years. They lined up their ships, fired their biggest weapons, and hoped to overpower their enemies through brute force. Sir, the Council Admiral sent another message, reported the communications officer. He is asking us to be careful and not take unnecessary risks. Hayes almost laughed. He thinks we are going to our deaths. He does not understand that humans have been perfecting the art of war for our entire history. Captain, should we tell him about our real capabilities? Chen asked. No. Let them think we are primitive. The Zephyrians will make the same mistake. By the time they realize what they are facing, it will be too late. The UES Thunderbolt and her escort ships jumped into hyperspace, racing toward a battle that would change the entire galaxy. Behind them, Earth's orbital facilities worked around the clock to prepare more ships. The human military had been waiting for this moment for 3 years. The galaxy was about to discover that the small, quiet species from Earth had been hiding, the most advanced military technology anyone had ever seen. The age of human dominance was about to begin, and it would start with a battle that lasted less than 5 minutes. The space around Kepler 442 looked like a graveyard. Broken pieces of alien ships floated everywhere, glowing red from the heat of recent explosions. The Galactic Council fleet was trapped near the 4th planet, surrounded by hundreds of Zephyrian war vessels. Captain Ryan Hayes watched the scene from the bridge of the UES Thunderbolt as his ship emerged from hyperspace. The human battle group appeared at the edge of the system like ghosts materializing from nothing. 21 ships in perfect formation, their gray hulls reflecting the light of distant stars. My God, whispered Lieutenant Amy Chen from her tactical station. Look at all those enemy ships. The sensor display showed over 300 Zephyrian vessels arranged in a massive circle around the surviving Council forces. The biomechanical ships pulsed with purple energy as they prepared for their final attack. Each Zephyrian ship was twice the size of the largest human vessel. Captain, incoming transmission from Admiral Kethvar, reported the communications officer. The alien admiral's face appeared on the main screen. His scaled features showed exhaustion and desperation. Behind him, smoke filled the bridge of his damaged command ship. Captain Hayes, thank you for coming, but you must leave immediately. The Zephyrians have us completely surrounded. Your small fleet cannot help us now. Hayes remained calm as he studied the tactical display. Admiral, how many ships do you have left? 47 vessels, but most are badly damaged. Captain, please understand the enemy has overwhelming numbers and superior weapons. You should withdraw while you still can. We did not come here to run away, Admiral. My orders are to assist the Council fleet. Kethvar looked confused. Captain Hayes, I respect your courage, but this is suicide. The Zephyrians will destroy your ships in minutes. Hayes smiled slightly. Let us worry about that. Please have your ships move away from the enemy formation. We need room to work. The transmission ended, and several officers on the Thunderbolt's bridge exchanged glances. They could hear the doubt in the alien admiral's voice. The Council forces had been fighting the Zephyrians for months and losing every battle. They could not imagine how 21 human ships could succeed where hundreds of alien vessels had failed. Captain, the enemy has noticed us, reported Lieutenant Tony Martinez from the weapons station. I am detecting movement in their outer formations. On the other side of the battlefield, War Master Thek Gul commanded the Zephyrian fleet from his massive flagship. The ship was 5 kilometers long and looked like a giant sea creature with glowing tentacles. Thek Gul was old even by Zephyrian standards, having conquered dozens of worlds in his long career. What are those new vessels? He asked his tactical officer. They appear to be from the species called humans, War Master. Our intelligence reports say they are primitive beings with basic technology. Thek Gul studied the human ships on his display screen. They looked small and simple compared to Zephyrian bioships. No glowing weapons, no energy shields visible. From the outside, no impressive size to intimidate enemies. How many ships? 21 vessels, War Master. The largest is barely 1/10 the size of our smallest cruiser. Thek Gul made a sound that might have been laughter. These mammals think they can interfere with our conquest? Send Squadron 7 to eliminate them quickly. I want to finish with the Council fleet before the solar day ends. Squadron 7 consisted of 50 Zephyrian warships, each one capable of destroying a small moon. They moved toward the human fleet in a standard attack formation, their biomechanical hulls glowing brighter as they charged their weapons. Aboard the Thunderbolt, Hayes watched the approaching enemy squadron with interest rather than fear. His crew had trained for this moment for 3 years. Every human officer knew exactly what to do. Amy, what is their estimated time to weapons range? Hayes asked. 12 minutes at current speed, Captain. They are not trying to be tactical, just coming straight at us. Perfect. That makes our job easier. Tony, are all ships ready for combat operations? Martinez checked his displays. All weapon systems green across the fleet, Captain. Quantum drives are charged and ready. Hayes activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Thunderbolt Actual. Execute Doctrine 7 on my command. The human fleet began to spread out into what looked like a defensive formation. To the Zephyrians, it appeared that the humans were preparing to make a last stand. The enemy squadron increased speed, eager to finish the battle quickly. Captain, the Council ships are moving away as requested, reported Chen. Admiral Kethvar is asking what our battle plan is. Tell him to watch and learn, Hayes replied. It is time to show the galaxy what human warfare looks like. The Zephyrian squadron was now 8 minutes away from weapons range. Their bioships pulsed with deadly energy as organic weapons prepared to fire. War Master Thek Gul watched from his flagship, expecting to see the human vessels destroyed within moments of contact. Lieutenant Martinez counted down the range. Enemy weapons will be in range in 60 seconds, Captain. Hayes remained perfectly calm. His hands rested on the arms of his command chair as he watched the enemy ships approach. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. There was no panic, no fear, only professional focus. 30 seconds to enemy weapons range, Martinez announced. All ships, prepare for quantum displacement, Hayes ordered. The human vessels began to glow with a strange blue light that the Zephyrians had never seen before. Energy readings from the human fleet spiked beyond anything the alien sensors could measure. 15 seconds to weapons range. Hayes took a deep breath. All ships execute Doctrine 7. Show them why you never pick a fight with Earth. 10 seconds, 5 seconds, execute. What happened next would be talked about in military academies across the galaxy for the next 1,000 years. The human ships did not fire conventional weapons or raise energy shields. Instead, they simply vanished. The Zephyrian squadron found themselves firing at empty space. 50 warships unleashed their full firepower at targets that were no longer there. Confusion spread through the enemy formation as their sensors showed impossible readings. The human ships had not been destroyed. They had moved, using quantum displacement technology that no other species had ever developed. The entire human fleet had shifted position in an instant. They now surrounded the Zephyrian squadron from all sides. appearing in locations that should have been impossible to reach so quickly. Fire Pattern Alpha, Hayes commanded calmly. The human weapons were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of energy beams or plasma bolts, they fired solid projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. But these were not ordinary bullets. They were quantum-enhanced penetrators that could punch through any known armor. 50 Zephyrian ships died in the first volley. The quantum projectiles tore through their biomechanical hulls like paper. Secondary explosions ripped the alien vessels apart from the inside. In less than 10 seconds, an entire enemy squadron had been completely destroyed. War Master Thek Gul stared at his tactical display in shock. The readings made no sense. How had the primitive mammals destroyed 50 warships so quickly? Admiral Kethvar watched from his damaged command ship with equal amazement. "How is this possible?" he whispered. Captain Hayes opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian flagship. "War Master Thek Gul, this is Captain Hayes of the human fleet. You have one chance to surrender and withdraw from Council space." The alien commander's reply was filled with rage and disbelief. "What kind of weapons are those? What technology allows you to move like that?" Hayes smiled coldly. "The kind you get when your entire species spends thousands of years perfecting the art of war. Last warning, War Master. Leave now or face the consequences." Thek Gul's response was to order his entire fleet to attack the humans. 300 Zephyrian warships began moving toward Hayes and his 21 vessels. The real battle was about to begin. War Master Thek Gul could not believe what he had seen. 50 of his best warships had been destroyed in seconds by weapons he did not understand. But he still commanded 300 vessels against only 21 human ships. The numbers were still in his favor. "All ships attack formation Delta," he ordered through the fleet communication system. "Surround the human vessels and destroy them with maximum firepower. I want nothing left but space dust." The massive Zephyrian fleet began to move. 300 biomechanical ships spread out like a giant net, their hulls pulsing with deadly energy. Each ship was larger than the biggest human vessel. Their weapons could destroy planets. Surely the primitive mammals could not repeat their earlier trick. Captain Ryan Hayes watched the enemy formation develop on his tactical screen. The Zephyrians were doing exactly what he had expected. They relied on size and numbers rather than strategy. It was the same mistake that species across the galaxy had been making for thousands of years. "Amy, enemy formation analysis," Hayes requested from his tactical officer. Lieutenant Amy Chen studied her displays. "Standard encirclement pattern, Captain. They are trying to surround us from all sides. No creativity in their approach. Very predictable." "Tony, weapon system status?" Lieutenant Tony Martinez checked his instruments. "All ships report full combat readiness, Captain. Quantum displacement drives are charged. Temporal distortion. Fields are online and ready." Hayes activated the fleet communication channel. "All ships, this is Thunderbolt Actual. Prepare for full spectrum warfare protocol. We are about to teach the galaxy a lesson they will never forget." The human captains acknowledged the order with calm professionalism. They had trained for this exact scenario hundreds of times. Every officer knew their role in what was about to happen. Admiral Kethvar watched from his damaged council ship as the human fleet prepared to face impossible odds. His communications officer was receiving panicked messages from across the galaxy as news of the battle spread. "Sir, the entire Galactic Council is monitoring this engagement. They want to know if the humans have any chance of survival." Kethvar looked at the tactical display showing 300 enemy ships closing in on 21 human vessels. "I do not see how they can win, but they just destroyed 50 Zephyrian ships in seconds. Perhaps these humans know something we do not." The Zephyrian fleet tightened its formation around the human ships. Biomechanical weapons charged with deadly energy. Organic hulls glowed brighter as the alien vessels prepared to unleash everything they had. "All ships commence firing," War Master Thek Gul commanded. 300 Zephyrian warships opened fire at the same moment. Purple energy beams and plasma bolts filled space as the aliens tried to overwhelm the human fleet with pure firepower. The amount of energy being released could have burned away the atmosphere of a small planet, but the human ships were not where the weapons were aimed. Execute full-spectrum warfare protocol, Hayes ordered calmly. What happened next broke every rule of physics that the galaxy thought it understood. The human ships did not just use quantum displacement to change position. They activated temporal distortion fields that allowed them to exist slightly ahead of normal time. The 21 human vessels suddenly became hundreds of targets as they flickered through space faster than any sensor could track. Each ship appeared to be in dozens of places at once, firing from positions that should have been impossible to reach. The Zephyrian fleet found itself under attack from weapons that seemed to ignore the laws of science. Human projectiles materialized inside alien hulls without passing through the armor. Quantum torpedoes struck from angles that did not exist. Energy disruptors tore apart molecular bonds before the enemy could react. Lieutenant Chen coordinated the attack from her station, watching as centuries of Zephyrian military power crumbled in real time. Captain, enemy casualties are mounting rapidly. Their formation is collapsing. The human weapons were not just advanced, they were revolutionary. While other species had spent thousands of years making bigger energy guns and stronger shields, humans had learned to manipulate time and space itself. They could be anywhere they wanted to be, exactly when they needed to be there. War Master Thek-Gul watched his fleet being destroyed ship by ship. His tactical officers were screaming impossible reports. Human vessels were appearing inside Zephyrian formations, firing point blank, then vanishing before return fire could reach them. "How are they doing this?" he roared. "No technology can allow such movement." His science officer was frantically studying sensor readings. "War Master, they appear to be using some form of temporal manipulation. They are moving through time as well as space." "That is impossible. No species has ever achieved such technology." But the evidence was destroying his fleet piece by piece. 200 Zephyrian ships were already gone. The survivors were trying to retreat, but the human vessels followed them through space-time. Captain Hayes stood calmly on his bridge as the battle reached its climax. Around him, his crew worked with deadly efficiency. They were not just fighting a battle, they were demonstrating humanity's place in the galactic order. "Tony, target their command ship," Hayes ordered. Martinez locked weapons onto War Master, Thek-Gul's massive flagship. "Target acquired, Captain. Quantum penetrators loaded and ready." "Fire." The UES Thunderbolt appeared directly above the Zephyrian command vessel and fired a single shot. The quantum-enhanced projectile passed through 5 kilometers of biomechanical armor like it was made of paper. The flagship exploded from the inside, taking War Master Thek-Gul and his entire command staff with it. With their leader dead and most of their fleet destroyed, the surviving Zephyrian ships tried desperately to escape. But human vessels were faster than light itself when using temporal distortion fields. There was nowhere to run. Lieutenant Amy Chen watched the tactical display as the last enemy ships were eliminated. "Captain, enemy fleet destruction is complete. Total engagement time, 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Hayes nodded with satisfaction. "Casualties?" "0 human losses, sir. All ships report minimal damage." Admiral Kethvar transported aboard the UES Thunderbolt 30 minutes after the battle ended. The alien commander walked through the human ship's corridors in amazement. Everything looked so simple and basic, yet these mammals had just achieved the most decisive military victory in galactic history. Captain Hayes, in 300 years of space warfare, no one has ever achieved such results. How is this possible? Hayes led the alien admiral to the observation deck, where they could see the debris field that had once been the Zephyrian fleet. "Admiral, you made the same mistake the Zephyrians did. You judged our technology by what you could see on the surface. But your ships look so primitive compared to ours. That is exactly the point. While other species focused on making their weapons bigger and their ships prettier, humans learned to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe itself. We do not need impressive-looking technology. We need technology that works." News of the battle spread across the galaxy within hours. The Zephyrian Empire, which had seemed unstoppable just days before, immediately surrendered and begged for mercy. Other aggressive species suddenly found diplomacy much more attractive than warfare. The age of human military dominance had begun with a battle that lasted less than 5 minutes. The galaxy would never be the same again. The news traveled faster than light across the galaxy. In every star system on every inhabited world, beings stopped what they were doing to stare at their communication screens in disbelief. The Zephyrian Empire was gone, destroyed completely, by 21 ships from a small planet called Earth. On the Council homeworld of Nexus Prime, emergency sessions were being held in government buildings across the planet. Species that had never agreed on anything were now asking the same question. Who were these humans and what did they want? Chancellor Vex Moore of the Galactic Council called an emergency meeting of all member species. The massive assembly hall, filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds. The air buzzed with nervous conversation in dozens of languages. Fellow beings, Chancellor Vex Moore began, his forearms spread wide for attention. We have witnessed something unprecedented. A military force that was terrorizing our civilization has been eliminated in minutes by our newest member species. Representative from the Altarian Republic stood up. Chancellor, our intelligence services knew nothing about human military capabilities. How did they hide such advanced technology? Before the Chancellor could answer, the main communication screen activated. Admiral Kethvar appeared, still aboard the human ship UES Thunderbolt. His scaled face showed a mixture of awe and concern. Council members, I am reporting from the battle site. The human fleet has completely destroyed over 300 Zephyrian warships. Their technology appears to be centuries ahead of anything we have seen. Murmurs of fear and excitement filled the assembly hall. Many species had suffered under Zephyrian attacks. Others worried about what human dominance might mean for the galaxy. Admiral, are the humans making any demands? Asked Chancellor Vex Moore. None so far, Chancellor. Captain Hayes has been polite and professional, but I believe we need to reconsider humanity's position in the galactic community. Meanwhile, on Earth, Fleet Admiral Jake Morrison was dealing with his own set of problems. His communication systems were overflowing with messages from across the galaxy. Some were congratulations, others were requests for help, and many were barely hidden threats. Commander Lisa Wade entered his office carrying a stack of data pads. Sir, we are receiving over 1,000 messages per hour from alien governments. Most want to establish formal military alliances with Earth. Morrison looked tired but satisfied. Any hostile communications? Several, sir. The Carillion Syndicate is demanding we share our military technology. The Nexian Empire wants to know if we plan to expand beyond human space. The Altarian Republic is asking for defense guarantees. What about the Zephyrian survivors? Wade pulled up another report. 8 ships escaped the battle. They have requested permission to surrender directly to human forces. Apparently, they are afraid of what other species might do to them. Morrison nodded. The Zephyrians had made many enemies during their conquest. Now that they were defenseless, revenge was likely. Tell Captain Hayes to accept their surrender. We are not in the business of genocide. Back in the Kepler system, Captain Ryan Hayes was conducting his own diplomatic mission. Representatives from a dozen species had arrived to see the battle site and meet the humans who had changed everything. Lieutenant Amy Chen was coordinating the meetings from the Thunderbolt's conference room. Captain, the Andromedan ambassador, wants to discuss technology sharing agreements. The Centauri delegation is offering exclusive trade deals. Hayes reviewed the list of requests. What about the Zephyrian survivors? 7 ships remaining, sir. They are asking for safe passage to neutral space. Their new leader, Sub-Commander Veltash, wants to speak with you personally. Bring him aboard. Sub-Commander Veltash was young for a Zephyrian, with bright green scales and intelligent eyes. He had been a low-ranking officer when the battle began. Now he commanded what remained of his species' military. Captain Hayes, I come to ask for mercy, Veltash said as he entered the human conference room. My people were wrong to attack the Council worlds. We accept full responsibility. Hayes studied the alien commander. Sub-Commander, your species spent months destroying peaceful worlds. Millions died because of Zephyrian aggression. Why should we show mercy? Because you are better than we were, Captain. Your species could have destroyed our survivors, but you chose not to. That shows wisdom we never possessed. Lieutenant Tony Martinez, who was present for security, whispered to Hayes, Captain, our intelligence suggests the Zephyrian military was controlled by War Master Thek Gull and his inner circle. The common soldiers may have been following orders. Hayes made his decision. Sub-Commander, I will grant safe passage to your surviving ships on one condition. Your species must make reparations to the worlds you damaged. You will work with the Galactic Council to rebuild what you destroyed. Veltash bowed deeply. We accept these terms, Captain. Thank you for your mercy. As news of the human decision spread, other species began to understand that Earth was not interested in conquest. The humans could have demanded tribute or territory, but they chose justice instead. On the mining world of Kepler 7, Governor Tamrex was dealing with unexpected visitors. 3 massive human cargo ships had arrived in orbit, their holds filled with medical supplies and construction equipment. Governor, this is Captain Susan Clark of the UES Mercy. We understand your world was damaged in the recent attacks. We are here to help with rebuilding efforts. Governor Tamrex was confused. Captain Clark, we did not request assistance and we have no funds to pay for supplies. No payment required, Governor. Earth considers this part of our responsibility as council members. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. Human ships were arriving at damaged worlds with supplies and volunteers. Species that had never seen humans before were meeting engineers and doctors from Earth who had come to help rebuild. The political implications were enormous. For the first time in galactic history, the most powerful military force was using its strength to help rather than conquer. Ambassador Sarah Williams, Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, was working around the clock to manage the diplomatic flood. Her small embassy staff was overwhelmed with requests for meetings. Ambassador, the Carillion Syndicate is threatening economic sanctions if we do not share our military technology, reported her aide, Lieutenant Commander Bob Taylor. Williams laughed. Bob, they were threatening us just yesterday because they thought we were weak. Now they are threatening us because we are strong. Some things never change. What should I tell them? Tell them that Earth's military technology is not for sale. But we are happy to discuss mutual defense agreements with peaceful species. The message was clear across the galaxy. Humanity would defend the innocent and help rebuild what had been destroyed, but they would not arm species that might use human weapons for conquest. Within weeks, a new galactic order was emerging. Species that had been enemies for centuries were working together on reconstruction projects led by human engineers. Trade routes that had been closed by warfare were reopening under human protection. The Zephyrian survivors kept their word. Under Sub-Commander Veltash's leadership, they dedicated their remaining resources to rebuilding the worlds they had damaged. Many former enemies began to respect the aliens who were working to make amends. Captain Hayes received new orders from Earth as his mission in the Kepler system came to an end. Admiral Morrison had promoted him and given him command of the new Deep Space Defense Force. Amy, how many species have requested permanent human military presence in their space? Hayes asked his tactical officer. Chen checked her reports. 43 species so far, Captain. They want protection from future threats. Hayes smiled as he looked out at the stars. I think we are going to need more ships. The galaxy had learned that when humans entered a battlefield, enemies did not just lose. They were given a chance to become something better. It was a lesson that would echo through space for generations to come. 1 year after the Battle of Kepler 442, the galaxy was a very different place. Admiral Ryan Hayes stood on the observation deck of the new UES Guardian, the largest human warship ever built. Through the massive windows, he could see dozens of alien ships working alongside human vessels in the Centauri shipyards. Admiral, the morning briefing is ready, announced Commander Amy Chen as she entered the observation lounge. She had been promoted after the battle and now served as Hayes' chief of staff for the Deep Space Defense Force. Hayes turned from the window. How many requests for assistance did we receive overnight? 12 new requests, sir. The Andromedan. Colonies want help with pirate raids. The Carillion mining stations are asking for convoy escorts. And the Nexian government wants us to mediate a border dispute with the Altarians. Hayes nodded as he walked toward his office. The humans had become the galaxy's police force, but it had happened gradually and by request. No species had been forced to accept human protection. What about the Zephyrian reconstruction project? Chen pulled up a report on her datapad. Sub-Commander Veltash reports that rebuilding efforts are ahead of schedule. The former Zephyrian territories are now producing food and medical supplies for distribution to other damaged worlds. It was remarkable how quickly the defeated enemy had transformed into valuable allies. The Zephyrians had skills in biological technology that complemented human engineering abilities. Together, they were healing worlds that had been broken by war on Earth. Fleet Admiral Jake Morrison was preparing for the largest military expansion in human history. The orbital shipyards around Earth, Luna, and Mars were working constantly to build new vessels. But these were not ships of conquest. They were vessels designed to protect and serve. Commander Lisa Wade entered Morrison's office with the weekly production reports. Sir, we will have 50 new ships ready for deployment next month. The alien governments are providing raw materials in exchange for protection services. Morrison reviewed the construction schedules. Lisa, make sure we maintain the balance. We need enough ships to respond to threats, but not so many that other species feel intimidated. Understood, sir. The Galactic Council has formally requested that Earth take over responsibility for maintaining peace in 12 star systems. Accept the request, but make sure our crews include officers from the species we are protecting. This cannot look like human occupation. The integration program had been Morrison's idea. Human ships carried mixed crews with aliens serving alongside Earth personnel. It built trust and shared knowledge in both directions. Ambassador Sarah Williams was dealing with a different kind of challenge at the Galactic Council headquarters. The assembly hall was packed with representatives from hundreds of worlds, all wanting to discuss humanity's role in galactic affairs. Chancellor Vex Moore called for order. Fellow beings, we are here to formalize Earth's position as the primary peacekeeping force in our region of the galaxy. The Carillion representative stood up. Chancellor, while we appreciate human assistance, we must discuss the concentration of military power. No single species should control so much force. Williams rose to address the assembly. Honored delegates, Earth does not seek to control anyone. We have never demanded territory, tribute, or political influence in exchange for our protection. An Altarian delegate nodded in agreement. The humans have kept their word. They protected our colonies from raiders and asked for nothing in return. The Andromedan ambassador added, human medical ships have saved millions of lives across our worlds. Their engineers have built hospitals and schools on planets that had nothing. The debate continued for hours, but the conclusion was inevitable. Earth had proven its intentions through actions, not words. Species across the galaxy trusted human leadership because humans had earned that trust. Sub-Commander Veltash was addressing his own people on the former Zephyrian homeworld. The planet that had once launched ships of conquest was now a center of healing and rebuilding. My fellow Zephyrians, 1 year ago we were the most feared military force in the galaxy. Today, we are respected members of the galactic community. This transformation happened because we chose to learn from our defeat. The audience consisted of former warriors who now worked as engineers, doctors, and teachers. The skills they had used for destruction were being applied to construction and healing. The humans taught us that true strength comes from protecting the weak, not conquering them. We will honor this lesson for all our generations to come. Captain Tony Martinez commanded the UES Defender as it patrolled the Outer Rim territories. His ship was one of 50 human vessels now stationed permanently throughout Council space. Each ship carried a mixed crew and served as both protector and diplomat. Captain, we are receiving a distress signal from the Tau Ceti system, reported his communications officer, Lieutenant Janet Pierce. What is the nature of the emergency? Unknown raiders attacking a civilian transport convoy, sir. Local defense. Forces are outnumbered. Martinez smiled grimly. Set course for Tau Ceti maximum speed. Send a message to the raiders on all frequencies. The message was simple and had become famous throughout the galaxy. This is the Human Defense Force. Cease your attack immediately and withdraw, or face the consequences. Most raiders fled when they heard those words. The few who chose to fight learned quickly why that was a mistake. Human ships appeared out of nowhere, eliminated the threat in minutes, and vanished just as quickly. The convoy at Tau Ceti was saved, without a single civilian casualty. The grateful transport captain sent messages of thanks to Earth, adding to the thousands of similar communications received every day. Back on Earth, children were learning about their planet's new role in galactic affairs. Schools taught lessons about responsibility that came with power, and how Earth's strength was meant to protect, not intimidate. Dr. Helen Ross, Earth's Minister of Galactic Affairs, was visiting a classroom in New York. "Can anyone tell me why we help other worlds?" she asked the students. A young boy raised his hand. "Because we can help them, and that means we should help them." Dr. Ross smiled. "That is exactly right. Power without responsibility is just bullying. But power used to help others makes the whole galaxy better." Admiral Hayes received his final report of the day as he prepared to leave his office aboard the UES Guardian. The numbers told an amazing story. In 1 year, human forces had prevented 47 acts of aggression, rescued over 200 civilian ships, and assisted in rebuilding 18 damaged worlds. "Amy, what do the casualty reports show?" Hayes asked. Chen checked her data. "0 human military deaths in the past 6 months, sir. Our new tactics of arriving fast and overwhelming hostile forces has made resistance pointless." "Good. The best battles are the ones that end before they begin." As Hayes looked out at the stars, he thought about how much had changed. A year ago, humanity had been unknown in the galaxy. Now the phrase "human fleet enters the battlefield" meant something, very specific to every species in known space. It meant that help was coming. It meant that bullies would be stopped. It meant that the weak would be protected and the innocent would be saved. The enemy did not just crumble in seconds when humans arrived. Evil itself learned to fear the ships from Earth. And across the galaxy, billions of beings slept peacefully knowing that if danger came, 21 gray ships had grown into a fleet of hundreds, all dedicated to keeping the stars safe. The age of human guardianship had begun, and the galaxy was better for all. Peace had finally found its champions, and they came from a small blue world that refused to let might make right. They had made the universe a place where being strong meant protecting those who could not protect themselves. The story of humanity's rise to galactic leadership would be told for thousands of years, and it would always begin the same way. Human fleet enters the battlefield and the enemy crumbled in seconds, but it would end with something even better, and the galaxy lived in peace ever after.